United Kingdom's courts froze Ibori's assets valued at about £17 million in early August of 2007. His wife, Nkoyo, was arrested at Heathrow Airport in London on the 1st of November 2007 in connection with the probe on her husband's assets, particularly those in the United Kingdom. She was later released after being questioned. And in an exclusive interview with the CNN at the time, Ibori denied allegations against him, claiming they were politically motivated. He accused Nuhu Ribadu and the UK courts of playing politics with his matter. Now, this is where it gets more interesting. On December 12, 2007, Ibori was arrested by the EFCC at the Kwara State Lodge in Asokoro, Abuja. The charges against him included theft of public funds, abuse of public office, and money laundering. These corruption charges brought against Ibori by the government of former President Obasanjo, among many allegations by anti-corruption leader then, Nuhu Ribadu, against the former officials of the People's Democratic Party at the time. Nuhu Ribadu additionally alleged that Ibori attempted to bribe him to drop the charges with a cash gift of $15 million, which Ribadu immediately lodged at the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, in December 17, 2009, a federal high court sitting in Asaba, Delta State, discharged and acquitted Ibori of all 170 charges of corruption brought against him by the EFCC. The EFCC wasn't happy. They filed a notice of appeal against that judgment and began a new round of investigations on the former governor following a petition by members of the Delta State Elders Forum. Now, in April of 2010, about 3 months after the takeover of government by Goodluck Jonathan, Ibori's case file was reopened. A new allegation that he embezzled 40 billion naira was pressed against him. Attempts to arrest him were unsuccessful. It was reported that he fled from Abuja to Lagos and then to the creeks of Ogara, his homeland in the Niger Delta. It was reported also that he had been guarded by armed militia, and they once had a shootout with government security operatives who had tried to arrest him. Now, fast forward some months down the line, on the 13th of May 2010, Ibori was arrested in Dubai, the UAE, under Interpol arrest warrants issued from the United Kingdom courts and enacted by the Metropolitan Police. He was granted bail pending an extradition hearing. And eventually he was extradited to the UK, where court proceedings started. And after some time, the same man who had been discharged and acquitted here in Nigeria of over 170 charges. None of those 170 charges could stick in Nigeria. But in London, he pleaded guilty to 10 counts of fraud and money laundering involving sums amounting to at least £50 million. All this happened around 2012. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison. He served half of that time before he was eventually released and then came back to Nigeria. So the monies in question now, a part of those monies that constituted his assets in London then. So now the UK government and the Minister of the Attorney General of the Federation signed an MOU recently that part of that money, £4.2 million, be returned to Nigeria, right? So that's where this whole thing started from, at least in the last couple of days, yeah? The United Kingdom is set to return that amount to Nigeria. It was recovered from former governor of Delta State, James Ibori, who was convicted of corruption charges in the UK in 2012. The money translates to about 2.4 billion naira at the official exchange rates. Now, representatives of both the UK and Nigerian governments signed that agreement for the return of the money to Nigeria in Abuja on Thursday. Signing the agreement, which took place at the Ministry of Justice, Abuja. It was done under the auspices of the UK and Nigeria Memorandum of Understanding, which came into force in 2016. The British High Commissioner, Katarina Lang, signed the agreement on behalf of the UK government, while the Attorney General, Abubakar Malami, signed on behalf of the federal government. Now, to Malami's comments as to why those monies would not be returned to Delta State, he explained why that is. He was speaking on an interview on television, and he said the law which Ibori breached is a federal law and not that of Delta State. Quote, his words directly, the major consideration to who is entitled to a fraction or perhaps the money in its entirety is a function of law and international diplomacy, among others. It is a function of law in the sense that the law in connection or the law in contention that was alleged to have been breached is a federal law. That is the starting point. In dealing with international community and international diplomacy, the parties of interest are the state parties, referring to foreign countries, and not subnational governments that are involved. End of quote. Those were Malami's words. He insisted that the federal government is the victim, adding that the Delta State government was not involved in the recovery of the funds. So those are parts of his arguments as to why the federal government would not return the monies to Delta State. And as you can imagine, a case such as this would, of course, garner interest and start arguments on different sides. That already has started. Stakeholders, legal luminaries, everybody jumping in on this and giving their opinions and comments concerning what the implications of this action should be and what the federal government should be seen to be doing. One of such people is Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, who has said that the federal government has no right to hold back to this monies. He says that there are precedents where, in other cases, monies that were looted by other state governors in the past were gotten back from international international parties and then given back to the state government. He cited Bayelsa State. He cited Plateau State in the case against Joshua Dare. And in these two cases, he insists the monies were returned and given back to the state government. And he wonders why, in this particular case, the federal government should toe a different line. In this morning's newspapers, there was a headline on This Day newspaper that kind of captures that. So it reads, repatriated £4.2 million belongs to Delta, says House, Falana and Azinge. The Delta State government yesterday got support from the House of Representatives, as well as two senior advocates of Nigeria, Professor Epiphany Azinge and Mr. Femi Falana, to lay claims to the £4.2 million recovered by the United Kingdom due to be repatriated to Nigeria soon. The House at plenary asked the federal government to suspend plans to spend the money as it belongs to the state. Azinge and Falana also rejected the expenditure outlay the federal government released on Tuesday. However, This Day gathered that the state government is considering options on how to get back the money recovered in the UK from the associates of a former governor of Delta State, Chief James Ibori, from the federal government when finally repatriated. The House at plenary yesterday urged the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to stop further appropriation or disbursement of the recovered funds pending the final determination of the matter by the House. It also requested the Ministry and the Attorney General of the Federation to furnish it with all particulars relating to the recovered money. In addition, the House Committee on Finance, Justice, Loans and Recovered Funds are to investigate the matter and revert to the House within 2 weeks. The resolutions were a sequel to adoption of a motion of urgent national importance that was sponsored by the House Minority Leader, Honorable Ndudi Elumelu, and 9 other lawmakers from Delta State. We have to take a break now. When we come back, I'll have my guest on the phone, and I'll be asking his opinion as regards the variation in the thoughts, as we're seeing, from people who should know and on the part of the federal government itself. Don't go away, we'll be back shortly.
Now, where's that big malt? Today was just one of those days. Woke up by 5, made breakfast, went to work, did my job, then my Oga's work, then Oga's work, came home, made dinner, and now nothing can stop me from enjoying my rich, smooth, refreshing Dubic malt.
Enjoy the silky smooth taste of Dubic malt. Dubic malt, crown the moment.
So you know say time don't reach to replace that your phone. Make it to for step up to correct level where they're bigger and better. See Samsung don't get another Ocean 3 ways to it. Now true you hear. Just get the Galaxy A71, A51 and A31 where the price don't reduce to 151,500 naira, 99,500 naira, and 86,000 naira respectively. They never finish show. You go follow get 3,000 naira recharge when you buy the Galaxy S9, A02 and A02s. You people about one stop last. These are C's apply.
Oh yes.
Don't let power outage interrupt your life. Genos inverters come on automatically during power outage, so you enjoy continuous power without interruption. Get Genos and enjoy power without noise and without manual changeover. Call 0700 111 2233. That is 0700 111 2233. Genos inverters and batteries, energizing lives.
If only we could show you on radio our stylish new look. Amstel Malta. But since we can't, go to the nearest store to pick up some Amstel Malta. And for Team Fit fam, try the new Amstel Malta Ultra with no added sugar. New look Amstel Malta.
And new Amstel Malta Ultra with no added sugar. So good for you.
Amstel Malta, be your best.
When malaria wants your power for your side, it will knock you down. I'm a damn soldier. Malaria medicine, we don't get that taste, no bitter taste for mouth.
Oh yes.
I'm still soldier, not to treat malaria. But no well after 3 days, see a working car.
Uncle Dentist, what can be cavities and how Colgate take they protect my teeth from cavities? Say they use Kung Fu?
No dear, now home for teeth they cause most tooth pains will be cavity. But if you use Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, take brush every day. The confirmed formula could help keep natural calcium inside our teeth. We could protect them from tooth decay.
Time don't reach to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate. Because Colgate locks calcium in.
Now the Nigerian Dental Association, they recommend Colgate.
Charles! Yes, mommy?
Go and bring 2 sachets of hyper.
Why 2?
Because I'm using one to soak the whites and using one to kill all the germs.
But I can't see any germs here.
They are so tiny you can't see them, but they are there. And that is why I trust only Hypobleach to kill them all.
Make your white fabrics whiter and your household free of illness causing germs and viruses with the disinfecting power of Hypobleach.
It is time for celebration. 30 years busting with goodness. No challenge can ever stop us. You can't underrate us. You can't underrate it. Busting with so much greatness. Enjoy our wonderful.
Introducing
to be representative of everything that Deltans represent. So if certain Delta State government officials have not done their bit very well, that is in terms of what was being done to retrieve the money, Deltans should not be punished because of that. For me, I would actually advocate that we should have a law that, okay, when monies have been misappropriated, and maybe we have officials who have played a part, connived one way or the other, or have been accessories after the fact of those thefts, they should be dealt with. But we shouldn't punish the masses or the citizen of a certain that is legal unit in Nigeria, that is a geographical unit in Nigeria, because certain officials have behaved in a bad way.
Toba, when this case was on, when the prosecution of Ibori was ongoing here in Nigeria, those many years ago, the sentiment on the street in Delta seemed to suggest that the people of Delta were behind him. As a matter of fact, there were some people that would tell you that people didn't want to see him persecuted. Deltans felt like he was being victimized, So you have that, and then you have the Attorney General of the Federation saying that the crime that was committed, the law that was broken, was not a state law, but a federal law. Hence, the federal government had to be the one to pursue the repatriation of these funds, and that is justification for the funds to remain with the federal government.
Yeah, but the money is not the federal government. As a charity, it's just like, okay, you have money, someone has stolen it. And then because, okay, maybe I know someone in the security agencies, I liaise with those people, and then we get the money back, and I get the money back. And then I say, no, charity, I'm not going to give you this money.
Would it make any difference if I helped the person steal the money, and now I'm asking back for my money? Oh, that's not a fair twist to it. I helped the person steal the money. Now you've gotten the money back, and I'm asking that you give me back the money when I'm culpable in the way the money was taken away. Or is that not the valid argument?
No, it's actually not valid, because in this case, okay, we have reduced Deltans to just one single entity, which is you. But you see, we didn't check the whole spectrum of the opinion on the streets of Delta. We didn't have a referendum to know whether Deltans wanted their money to be stolen or not. That's why I said we shouldn't conflate a few Delta State government officials that is, Deltans in general. They may be representative of the people, but they could do things that will harm the people. Ibori was a governor elected by Deltans, but he had done something which was harmful to Deltans. So we shouldn't say because, okay, Ibori was the governor and he stole the money, that means Deltans stole the money. Deltans didn't steal their money. It was a government official who stole it. And when the prosecution was on, and certain Delta State government officials refused to cooperate with the government, we shouldn't still conflate that to mean Deltans refusing to cooperate with the government. And like I said, this money actually belongs to Deltans, administered in trust by the Delta State government. So in this case, it's just like, okay, in Nigeria also, I am sorry to, bring up the Abacha loot also.
Yes.
That is, Abacha stole money. That is, we can, say that for a fact now. Stole money from Nigeria, stole them abroad.
Yes.
And when it came to, trying to get some of these monies back, there were Nigerians who were saying Abacha didn't steal. That he didn't steal a kobo from Nigeria.
Some would say the president was even one of such Nigerians.
Okay. Now, would it be okay for the UK to say, because, certain Nigerians are saying Abacha didn't steal your money. Now, these monies have become ours. No. That was going to be morally wrong, and it's also going to be legally wrong also.
But
so
there are people...
monies...
Go ahead.
These monies were repatriated back to Nigeria, irrespective of maybe what our government officials must have felt like, irrespective of what certain Nigerians who benefited from Abacha must have felt like. So this should also apply in the case of Delta State also. That is, Nigeria has helped in repatriating the money. If maybe Nigeria needs to be paid, that is for the legal services they rendered, because, that is, lawyers got involved in this and they got paid. Yeah, it's okay. Take, the part of your legal fees, take it away from the money, but return the money back to Deltans.
Okay. Certain people who have analyzed this situation seem to have concerns over the fact that Ibori is still an influential personality in Delta politics as at today. And that if these monies make their way back to the government Delta government's coffers, there is a possibility that it could be relooted again. And in this way, Deltas still lose again because the monies would not be used for anything that would benefit the generality of the people. What do you say to such arguments?
I think we should look at the framework that was, adopted for Nigeria. If you look at certain monies coming back into Nigeria now, you have the federal government, liaising with the authorities that released the money and promising that these monies were going to be spent on certain infrastructural projects.
Federal infrastructural projects.
Federal projects, yeah. I'm not talking about the Ibori loot now. I'm talking about the Abacha loot itself.
Okay.
That is, you have the federal government saying, okay, we're going to spend this money on the second Niger bridge. We're going to spend it on building the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Because they have an agreement with those repatriating the money to Nigeria that, those people had their own concerns also that these monies could get back into Nigeria and be looted by government officials again. And then we say, let's tie these things to specific projects. If the federal government comes up today and says, the Delta State, this monies, maybe we want you to spend it on education. We want to see, visible infrastructural work in education, maybe rehabilitation of secondary schools across the state, maybe rehabilitation of maybe some of their own tertiary institutions. Delta State has a university, that is Delta State University.
Yeah.
It's going to be understandable. But to take the money away from Deltans and not make it benefit them directly, then I think that is not in the spirit of federalism.
Do you think the federal government is going to change its mind? This issue has garnered a lot of conversation and debate and argument. The federal government isn't particularly one to go back on certain things that he says he would do, especially things like this. Do you see this as a different situation? Do you think, given all the noise that this issue has generated, the federal government would reconsider and, give the money to Delta State?
No. The federal government will not reconsider. That is just on the surface. That is, if nothing is done concretely by Delta State government to get these monies back, the federal government will not change its mind. But I do think that if Delta State, that is, institute legal action against the federal government, which they have indicated that they will be interested in doing, the courts will eventually come down in favor of Delta State. That is my own uninformed legal opinion, by the way. But I do think the court will say these monies belong to Delta State and it should be returned to them. And I would want to add, to think that the federal government, operates under the auspices of the rule of law and that they will decide to obey whatever the courts say.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. Earlier in the morning, we talked about this with one of my analysts from the newspaper headlines, and he was more concerned as to how we seem okay with seeing our monies taken away, stolen away. Yes. Everybody seems to now be concentrated on how this money should be spent, who should get this money now that they're coming back. And we're not concerned about what made it possible?
In the first place.
Absolutely. You know, we don't seem to be concerned about that. Do you share the same opinions? And if you do, I mean, what can we do to ensure that people at the helms of affairs, like state governors or even presidents, do not take advantage of the position of authority that they have to siphon monies out? Is there something that we can do as a people, or is it the system still that we have to depend on to make sure this doesn't happen?
Yeah, basically, you would want to say systems first. Like, that is, you want systems in place to prevent thievery, to prevent theft. But if you look at what happened in the lead up to, the theft of these monies from Delta State, we had a president who had come on board and who had talked, very seriously about the fact that corruption was a big problem for Nigeria. He set up the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, that is the ICPC, and the Economic Financial Crimes Commission also, that is the EFCC, to prevent or to serve as agencies that could help, in prosecuting people when they decide to go in the lines of corruption. But we're saying that is not enough deterrent, because after that, the likes of Ibori happened. So for me, I think in a democracy, Nigerians are losing one critical aspect of democracy, and that is citizens' action. That is, basically, if you are a citizen in a democracy, you have to be consistently on guard against, that is, elected executive officials taking advantage.
How is the question? How?
And that is what we're talking about when we talk about citizen advocacy. For me, I would like to see more civil society organizations operating at state level. For my own state, in Kwara State here, I think we have, something similar to that here. That is, there is an organization called NETSUD. They are basically committed to following up on government projects, government spendings in Kwara State. That is, they are not concerned about what is going on at the federal level. We have organizations like SERAP, Budget, and the rest of them who are more concerned about what goes on, at the center. But for the subnational unit, at local government level, at state level, we need civil society organizations that are going to be helping us poke their eyes into what government is doing. How does government spend our money? Then at the end of it, they should be enlightening citizens about what is actually going on. And when citizens get to know that their monies are being misappropriated, they are being misapplied, we shouldn't sit down at home and just be expecting that, okay, one day EFCC is going to come after the governor. Why not, go out there and protest about the misuse of your money? These funds are actually, they belong to every single citizen of the state. It is not the government that owns it. It is not Delta State's government money. It is Delta. It is the money that belongs to Deltans. It is money that belongs to every single citizen of the country. So if these monies are being misapplied, being misappropriated, then we should go out there and protest. Okay. We shouldn't be fighting over inanities in Nigeria. There are certain things that actually concern us that has a bearing on the quality of life that we are going to. We're still so passive about it, we keep quiet and we do nothing, then these things will continue to repeat.
Is going on currently on the national level and even on the state levels by the NLC and the TUC. Now we understand that they are threatening an indefinite nationwide strike should the National Assembly go ahead with that bill they're seeking to move the national minimum wage from the exclusive list to the concurrent list of the Constitution. What's your take, quickly?
I think maybe the National Assembly must have misjudged the resolve of the NLC. The NLC is actually a body set up to fight for workers' rights in Nigeria. And if you decide that, okay, for the benefit of the states, you want to move away the national minimum wage away from the exclusive list into the concurrent list, leaving people at the mercy of their state governments, that is in determining what should be the minimum, wage payable that is in a particular jurisdiction, then you're going to attract the wrath of the NLC. And I think that's what is happening in this case. For me, I think I would also go along with the NLC. That is, in most other countries that I know, in most other federations that I know, I do know that minimum wages are, we have what you call the national minimum wage in those places. So if you have that, for some parts of the federating unit, they may decide to pay, more than what is obtainable at the federal level, or more than what the national minimum wage stipulates. So if you decide to pay more, all well and good, but nobody should be going below the minimum. And I think, consultations went on at almost every level before this was arrived at. So if you're trying to say, for the benefits of the states now, you want to move away this thing away from being a national issue into just, being at the discretion of the federating unit, then I think Labour is going to come out to complain. And I would also, want to stand with the Nigerian Labour Congress on this.
All right.
For the National Assembly, I'm sorry, let me just, chip this in. For the National Assembly, that is, there have been complaints about the fact that they take too much money. That is, in a year you hear, the federal, that is the budget for the National Assembly being around 150 billion, 125 billion, over 130 billion. And people have been complaining that these monies are too much, that you people earn too much. They've never deemed it fit to look at their own remuneration, which Nigerians think is, staggering, for them to do something about it. But they want to, aid the states. And when they aid the states to save money, what happens to it? Ibori.
That's an interesting twist there. But Tobai Falani, thank you so much for speaking
to us. It's been a pleasure.
Always really a pleasure to talk to you on the show. Totally appreciate it. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. All right, so you've heard my guest on the two issues. Now it's time for us to turn the remaining minutes that we have to you. Unfortunately, it may not be as much as I thought initially. 5 minutes so we have left. But I will be gracious enough to give time to whoever calls to expatiate on their take on this issue. But whether it's the looted funds by the federal government or the case with Labour, let's have your take at this time as we wrap up the show this morning. The phone lines are open, 0706 949 3000 or 0809 155 1055. What do you think of these issues? Particularly, I'm interested in this threat by Labour. They're saying that they just might be headed for a nationwide indefinite strike should this continue. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Charity.
Good morning to you. Could you speak a little louder?
Okay, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to talk concerning, your guest made mention of some society organizations looking into government projects and check how things are made.
Yes.
Fine, I agree with that. But in the case of SERAP, I think we have SERAP in that.
Yeah, he was saying that SERAP and budget, they are concentrated at the federal levels. We should have such bodies and civil society organizations in the state focusing on what state governments are doing.
Yes, I want to talk about that SERAP. I do not think they are effective because today you will hear a news headline that SERAP sues federal government over this, over that. But the thing is, it is not effective because you won't later hear anything about it. So I want to know if that thing is effective at all, and I think it's not effective at all. So I think other ways should be mechanized on how to check the both federal government.
Can you give us suggestions? What are those other ways?
I really cannot tell.
Okay.
There should be other ways, actually.
Okay. All right, interesting. Thank you very much. You know, the thing about SERAP and all these other civil society organizations, it may seem that they're not getting results, but they're putting pressure on the government. The government knows that SERAP is watching. The government knows that SERAP might be putting in a freedom of information request. And these things are part of the ways that you could argue the government is kept on its toes, knowing that somebody is going to call it to account for a certain decision it made. Hello.
Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm very fine, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Ijeruka is on the line.
All right, Ijeruka, please go ahead.
There are so many things terribly wrong with Nigeria. One of them is the national minimum wage. It is an absolute harder. It is something that's offense common. It does not make sense at all. Labour has nobody to fight about. Why should a federal government be determining what will be paid by state government in their individual state? Why should somebody in Ibadan earn the same amount of money with somebody in Benin? What you take to rent a room in Abuja is what you take to rent a 3-bedroom flat in Ibadan. You can eat comfortably in any canteen in Ibadan with 300 naira. You cannot eat in any canteen in Abuja with less than 700 naira.
Okay.
It's so offensive to common sense, so offensive, so irrational. That's one of the things terribly wrong with Nigeria. We don't need a national minimum wage. Let every state negotiate for its own way. If a particular citizen of any state believes that their state government is underpaying the church, then campaign against that government in the next election. Let it be removed. That's the way out.
Okay.
And for the money recovered, there's no doubt about who wants the money. There's no doubt about that. The government of Nigeria has no business touching that money. As a matter of fact, AFCC have returned money directly to state. The last one was Okorocha. The money they recover, which Okorocha stole, I think about 2 to 7, I don't know, 2 billion naira or 5 billion naira. The AFCC recovered it and returned it back to Imo State. That is where the money belongs to. So there's no argument about who that it belongs to that. The federal government should not touch a couple of it, or else they will be a rogue.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for your comment. We totally appreciate that. I'm out of time, but I'm going to try to read this text message just before I go. It says, good morning. Okay. Good morning, Charity. It's quite disheartening that we take criminal issues as entertainment in Nigeria. If not, our reactions mustn't rest at radio discussions alone. Okay, I'm so sorry. I can't take any more calls. I'm really trying to read these text messages. And, okay, our discussions shouldn't rest on radio discussions alone. Shola Balogun from Amfani. Okay, Shola, thank you so much. Apologies, please, if you're trying to call me and I ended the call. My time is up. I've got to go. Thank you for being a part of the show. This conversation continues, and we hope that we get to a reasonable conclusion on this issue. But all the time I have for this show this morning is totally up. Ronke is going to be here tomorrow morning from 7, and hopefully, as always, it's fun on Splash 105.5 FM. My name is Charity Jerome. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday and remember to stay safe.
Splash FM 105.5.
Mama Betty